With the 2026 Combine wrapping up this weekend, wanted to jump on and go over some of the Bills free agents. Tonight, I'll be joined by my co-host, Spencer, and let's talk some Bills.
Come on.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bud Talks Bills. I'm here with my co-host tonight, Spencer. Spence, how we doing?
Not bad, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So with the Combine kind of wrapping up this weekend, the next step here is free agency. Just wanted to jump on and talk a little bit about the Bills free agents going into this offseason. Is there any? Well, actually, let's get to first the two free agents we actually have signed to contracts with Sam Franklin Jr. and Alec Anderson. Do you have anything you want to add to those two?
I'm glad they got the Alec Anderson deal done. I think he brings an edge to that offensive line that I really like. We used him a lot as a jumbo tight end 2 years ago. Not so much last year, but he, like I said, he plays with an edge that I appreciate. He can get a little crazy. You know, he's looking for a fight, almost kind of loses his assignment at times looking for a fight, but you like that. Sam Franklin he's that special teams ace, and that is a classic roster piece that, you know, the Bills always seem to have around, and signed him on a 3-year deal, which I think was surprising, but I'm sure there's void years worked into that, as they always are.
I'm sure. And a lot of people got kind of caught up in the up to $7.5 million. I think there's a lot to bake into a contract there. I think the max AAV for that is only $2.5 million, which would make up like 0.8% of our total salary cap. So
that's just what the ticker says. Their agents like to see a big number on a ticker.
Yeah. To Alec Anderson, I think that was kind of an underrated signing just based on the fact that we didn't have to go through the tender process with him. I know a couple years ago, Ryan Bates, we didn't sign in this exact same situation and then ended up having to match like a $4 million deal with was it Chicago? I think it was Chicago. And with some of these other players we're going to be talking about, on the offensive line potentially losing, either a solid depth piece or somebody that might potentially have to step in and start at one of those two positions. I think that was a pretty big deal.
Rick Bates is a free agent coming up this year. You know, if you lose David Edwards, maybe you get Rick back in the building.
Yeah. And the Sam Franklin deal, I think, like you said, we've always kind of focused on those special teams guys. Not to get too far into it, but I thought that was a really solid signing and somebody that I honestly thought we were going to lose. Probably to Miami. I thought was my initial thought with our special teams coordinator Chris Tabor going to Miami. Him kind of coming in on a 1-year deal last year. I didn't think that we were going to be getting him back on special teams, but made an impact. I think it's kind of an underrated signing.
Yeah, but Jeff Rodgers used to coach Sam Franklin elsewhere, didn't he?
I'm not sure. I know Jeff Rodgers has been in Arizona for a while, and Sam Franklin we got from Denver, I believe. Somewhere they might have crossed paths along the line, but I mean, regardless, I think it was a very underrated signing, both of those guys. And to the Alec Anderson point, like you said, if we lose David Edwards or Connor McGovern, those are kind of the two, highlighted guys. I'll go down through, our undrafted or our unrestricted free agents on offense. You got Connor McGovern, David Edwards, Reggie Gilliam, Brandon Cooks, Gabe Davis. And then you got guys in there like Mitch Trubisky. We can, talk about that. But to me, the two to focus on there are McGovern and Edwards. I believe that McGovern has to be the priority there over Edwards. Not that, you want to get rid of Edwards or, look to move on there. But I think that McGovern would have to be the priority between those two.
I think you'd love to get them both back, but I don't think the way that our cap situation is, you're not going to get both of them back.
No.
Like, obviously, you definitely go after, you'd prefer to sign Connor McGovern because the center is a more important position on that O-line. but I think he's earned a contract that I don't think we're gonna be able to pay him, unfortunately, which makes me a little afraid, but who kn I don't think he's gonna give us a homer deal. He's never really had a giant contract, and this is he hasn't given up a sack in 2 years, 2
It's
full seasons. I think he's got 2 pressures on his name in those 2 years too.
yeah,
I
yep,
mean,
no.
he's earned a big contract that I just don't know if we can afford to pay him.
Yeah, I don't think that he made it pretty clear the last time he signed with us. He had more money elsewhere and chose Buffalo.
Does he do that again for the
I
pizza parties?
I d it would be a great story, but I don't think you're getting a hometown discount from Connor McGovern
No,
twice.
I don't think so either. But,
And oh,
you
go
know, I mean, we they know better who they have in-house. I mean, could Cedric Van Pran Granger play center, or is it just gonna be Alec Anderson fight for a center job? Do they have their eyes on another free agent we could talk about later that maybe is gonna be cheaper, come in at a lower price, somebody in the draft they like? It's so early in the offseason to really be, kinda pinning much of this down yet.
it is for us, but you'd like to think that Bean and the organization have had their eyes on this, knowing the contract situation, that they've been at least having some sort of plan in place if you
I
were to
mean, I'd
lose
hope they're
them.
not asleep at the wheel, but who knows, man? This roster has just not been constructed in the most ideal fashion the past couple seasons. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna Bills bash here, Al. I'm not gonna Bills bash.
looking at the projected market values, and you can never really lock these into place. I mean, they're kind of all over the place, but Connor McGovern's market value projection is 16.3 million. David Edwards 19.9 million a year.
David Edwards getting 19? That where is that spot rack you're getting those from?
Um, yeah, spot rack right there. Now I trust over the cap a little more. I'll be honest, I'm not the most technology advanced person, and
You had me fooled with that intro countdown, I gotta tell you.
yeah, yeah.
No, but
Um,
I don't think you can keep both of them, and I also think another name you listed there, is Reggie Gilliam. I think you see them get that deal done. Gabe Davis, you let walk and you say sorry that it happened. It's unfortunate, but
I think Gabe Davis. Man, it was kind of a good story coming back last year, but that receiving room it needs an overhaul, and he does not have the skill set of somebody that you want to keep in that room, to kind of build off of. Um, Love Gabe, but totally ready to just kind of actually sever that tie, for good this time.
oh, why are
Um,
you closing the door on him like that? Who he could have a miraculous comeback, and he could be reconstructed
y-
better than ever. He could be running
yeah,
out there like
I mean,
last
he's gonna be coming back at earliest December probably,
no,
so,
I know.
this year, I think, the receiving room needs an overhaul, and I
No,
don't.
I think that's an obvious one, Gabe Davis. The one that I could see them throwing a bone to is
Brandon
Brandon
Cooks?
Cooks. Yeah,
Brandon
because he
Cooks.
was available constantly for Josh Allen. Now, mixed results, but
He had some big drops, and looking at his numbers, I was kinda surprised. It felt like he had an impact when he was on the field. Granted, it was only 5 games, but 5 catches, 114 yards, in those 5 regular season games, and then he had 5 for 78 in the 2 playoff games. Now, throw a big
there's a
asterisk next
oof,
to
brutal. I'm not ready to talk
big
about it yet, pal.
big asterisk next to that one, but, um, you know, it felt like the offense opened up when he was on the field,
I
kinda
mean, we've
stretching
lacked that
vertically.
field stretcher for how long? We've never really had that make the safeties respect us, play deeper.
Yeah.
We're gonna beat you if you cheat down guy. So I think honestly, a wide receiver that I think they're gonna target in the draft is gonna be one of these 4-3 guys.
I would I we can get into that. I I I still think that, there's some guys on the free agent market, and back to Cooks, not to move on too fast there. The offense opened up with Cooks out there. How much of that was Cooks, or was it just that role? You look to, bring back Cooks on, a team friendly 2, $3 million deal as a wide receiver 4 or 5 in that field stretcher role. I've said I'm personally would love to see Cooks back as long as it's in that role and that's not your quote unquote move in the wide receiver room is, hey, look, we brought back Brandon Cooks. Um, I
No,
just
I don't think it would be. I think that's one if you can get it done for 2 million a year, I would do it. I don't know if Brandon's gonna take that.
towards the end of his career, might want to chase a ring. He had a lot of good things to say about Josh Allen after the season.
Who
It it
doesn't?
it yeah, it'd be good, to bring him back on that. Um, and you mentioned Reggie Gilliam. To me, I think that might be, um, you got Connor McGovern, David Edwards as kind of like a 1A situation for me. To me, Reggie Gilliam is the unsung hero of that offense, and he's my number two like priority on offense. You can't let him walk out the door, in my opinion, at least. In the run game, special teams, I think he was our. I could be wrong, but I think he was our second leading special teams tackler this year, on top of what he brings to the offense.
No, and Reggie's a beast. I just don't know. Could he get stolen? Is there a market for Reggie Gilliam elsewhere in the league? Or are we going to get him on the cheap? That's my biggest issue is that we do not have a lot of wiggle room here. We can't sign everybody.
Right. Yeah. Which kind of, switching, to the defense, there is a lot more. I mean, just going down, you got obviously the big ones, Joey Bosa, Daquan Jones, Matt Milano, AJ Epinesa, Shaq Thompson, Jordan Poyer, Ogunjobi, Hamlin, White. Um, to me, I'm looking at this list, and really there's only two that I'm like kind of excited about the potential of bringing back, and that's Shaq Thompson and Trey White. Um, I think Shaq
Not
Tom
Daquan Jones?
no, no, I think um,
Not the right fit for this new
I
defensive
mean,
scheme,
he
or
he might be the right fit for the defensive scheme. I don't think that I've seen enough from him coming back from the injury 2 years ago. It just felt like, pre-injury in that London game, what did he was it a he broke his leg, or I don't remember the exact injury, but, it just felt like he kinda disappeared for lengths of time, and he's an aging
I don't know.
player.
I know he did have that injury, but I thought other than that, he was on a week to week basis available and one of our better performing defensive linemen. Now, I'll say that with the caveat that the bar is quite low to
Yeah.
clear for Daquan Jones in that category, but he was one of the guys that showed up every day. But
I'm fully ready to move on, from Daquan Jones. I get that he was one of our better defensive linemen, maybe consistently as on a consistent basis, but like you said, the bar's not really high on that. And if you're looking at him, to play, what would he play, the one tech? But uh, you're bringing in a new defensive coordinator, a new defensive scheme, and you have somebody who I mean, personally, I believe can play that one tech in Deion Walker on what
Deion
would be a
Walker, I know,
cheaper
but
deal.
I know he's gonna be a cheaper deal. He's on that rookie deal, but Deion Walker is going into his sophomore campaign, and there were serious questions in the run game. And to put him as he's so tall and can get out leveraged at the one tech, man, I don't know that you need this. So if you let Daquan go, I'm down with letting Larry Ogunjobi go. See you later. Thanks for nothing. Who do
To
you have as a defensive line?
I mean, there's still guys on the roster, and I know that these names probably don't jump out like a Daquan Jones, but I think Dwayne Carter, maybe
Dwayne
not as the
Carter
one
hasn't
tech,
shown
but
us anything since
I
coming
thought he
back from that
flashed.
injury.
I thought he flashed, and he missed all last year with the Achilles. So, um, I think that he's fine. And me personally, I know that I talked about go just go get some guys in the draft. I think that there's a lot of defensive tackles. You got Dominique Orange from Iowa State, Dante Corleone from Cincinnati. To fill that true, you like you said, Deion Walker is a one tech. He flashed, but there were some pretty serious questions about him in the run game. I think there's guys in this draft that you can get in the middle rounds, or maybe even free agent wise. Neville Gallimore from Indy. There's guys out there that you can get on cheaper deals than Daquan Jones to have play, you know, the opposite role from Deion Walker and kind of be a true run stuffer one tech. And again, a lot's being made about the switch. It's going to be fluid. I think that Jim Leonard and the defensive staff will probably just find a way to make it work with the guys that they have. It's kind of optimistic thinking, but there's guys in the draft that I'm comfortable moving on with Daquan Jones at this point in his career. 3 years ago,
What
Daquan
round are you
Jones.
drafting him in?
Um,
And
I mean,
how many
it
draft picks have we put into the defensive line in the
a
past
lot,
3 years, and how much do we have to show for it?
a lot. But maybe uh, it could open up the conversation a little bit. But I mean, you were drafting those defensive linemen for a completely different scheme along a different defensive
Yeah, and
line.
you don't know where Sean was nudging certain picks in certain directions because we have just been feeling like we've been whiffing with all the moves we've been trying to make, and he has thrown resource after resource at that defensive line position, and it continues to fall short. So I hesitate in getting excited about trying to get a rookie in there. And it's who is the veteran? Who is your anchor? You let Daquan Jones go. He has been that guy, that anchor for you for the past 3-4 years.
I I would go after a guy like Neville Gallimore from Indy in free agency. And that's just the name that I'm saying. But there's guys out there that you can get. And I guess I would go to this if you re-sign Daquan Jones, who would you want on the field more, Daquan Jones or Deion Walker?
It
Like
depends.
who would you
Is it a
expect to?
rundown? Is it a rundown or a passing down? Because if it's a
And
passing down, then I think I want Dion out there. But if it's a running that first, second down, I want Daquan.
in in that in theory, yes. Jim Leonard said in that opening press conference that he wants to have his best 11 guys on the field and not have to sub out based on packages coming in and out. Obviously, you can't do that all the time, but I think that if you're just rolling out, 11 guys on defense and you're just matching up to what the offense comes out in, whatever package or personnel they're in, I would think that you would want your second round, you know, or second year player that flashed a lot as a rookie. I think you'd want him out there more than the aging 33, 34-year-old Daquan Jones. I think that you can fill what Daquan Jones would do probably cheaper with some other guys and then draft, a one tech, whether it's, and you asked where I would take that defensive lineman. I think it kind of depends on how that first round falls.
Would it be first round for you? Would that be where you're looking?
No, no, I don't think any of those guys that we're talking about for this specific role would be first round guys. But depending on who you got in that first round, kind of opens up what your options are second and third, fourth round.
Shaq Thompson, though, is the one that you said that you want to re-sign. That I'm very interested in re-signing. I could let AJ Epinesa walk. I'm a little disappointed in that he hasn't. I mean, he flashes at times, but like so many of our defensive linemen disappear down the stretch and they fail to make an impact when it really matters in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Trey White on a minimal type deal, but did he catch lightning in a bottle last year? Because he did not look great in the two previous teams, the Ravens and where did he go? The Chargers? No, somebody out there though.
Ravens and Rams.
Rams, that's right. He was getting victimized out there, and it looked like when he first came back here and camp that he looked to be getting victimized as well. And then with Harrison going down, he got that playing time, and he looked great. I love the way he played. Is that lightning in a bottle, or is that repeatable?
I think that if I had to give an answer right now, I would say that that's probably lightning in a bottle for this past year. That was also in what I would consider an expanded role to what I would want him back. I wouldn't. I want Trey White back. I think that that's a solid depth, piece in your secondary. Um, but I wouldn't give him a contract to be cornerback, 3, maybe fighting for 2. I think that
That's what he's gonna want. He's gonna want though, because realistically, that's what it's gonna be.
well, yeah. Or does he come in knowing, hey, you've got Christian Benford on one side, Harrison's taken over that cornerback 2 role.
He would be a CB3. He's gonna want to be that CB3 guy, and he's gonna want to get paid to be that
or,
CB3. I'd assume.
or at least fight for it. And really in contracts, what's the difference between CB3 and CB4? I think that it's gonna. I think with Trey White, we talked about Connor McGovern giving a hometown discount. Trey White's somebody I can see giving Buffalo another hometown
Trey
discount.
White is in a totally different spot in his career, and he does not have the leverage that Connor McGovern has. Connor McGovern has all the leverage right now with the way that he's played and performed in the past 2 seasons.
100%. And that's why I think if you can get Trey White back on one of those kind of vet minimums or maybe even a little more, make it team friendly. But I would be happy with bringing him back at least even if it is he's cornerback 3, I would take my chances with that.
Yeah, another one that's pretty interesting we haven't talked about yet is Matt Milano. Did he play himself into big money? Because I don't know that he did. We saw some flashes of the Matt we knew and loved before the injuries, but do you think that was a good deal avoiding that last year or what?
I don't you know,
Is he slowing down? Is he not the coverage linebacker he used to be after these injuries and the miles have been put on him?
I think it's the consistency. He would flash at times this year where you're like, that's Matt Milano. Um, I don't think he played himself into a big contract on the market. Um, he really couldn't stay healthy again, even when he flashed and played well and was, for a stretch of the year, probably one of, until Shaq Thompson kind of came on there at the end. He was probably, I mean, he was our best linebacker. Um, but I still don't think that he's gonna get, the money. To me, it's more of, is that a heart or a head situation? Are you re-signing Matt Milano with your head, or are you wanting to re-sign Matt Milano with your heart?
I
Um,
think you let him test the market and see what he can get, but honestly, I don't I know it feels bad saying this because I love Matt Milano, but do you prioritize Shaq Thompson over Matt Milano?
um,
Shaq Thompson, I think, was the
yep,
better linebacker the whole
yeah.
year. You said came on at the end of the year. I thought he was the better linebacker the whole year.
He missed some time at the beginning, and when I say at the end of the year, it probably was right around middle of the year. Matt Milano's somebody that too. Do you just let him test the market and kind of get a feel for what Jim Leonard kind of thinks he can do with him? I mean, if Jim Leonard comes in and goes, it's just not a fit, or I would rather get kind of like my guys kind of thing. That's Matt Milano's a tough one because there is so much of, at least for us, I feel like as Bills fans, like that decision kind of gets made with our heart. Like I want Matt Milano back just with my heart. Do I think it's the right move for the team? Probably not.
A little easier, but along those same lines is letting Jordan Poyer walk. You know, it's another one who was in his heyday here in Buffalo. You loved him, and you couldn't imagine the Bills' defense without him and Hyde back there. But now it's another one that I think it's the chapter has closed on that. I
Yeah,
think that the
yeah.
book's written for Poyer in Buffalo, and I think that's going to be it. And I mean, I don't love saying it, but I do anticipate Matt Milano is elsewhere when the season
I
starts.
I agree. I agree, and I think Milano's, like I said, it's kind of one of those things. I agree. I think he's going to be elsewhere, but would I love him back? Would I, as a fan? Yeah, I love Matt Milano. So um,
Does
the
Damar Hamlin get that same love, or are you letting him walk?
I think
Why are
I
you
think
shaking your
Damar's
head
out.
that fast? That's messed up.
I
Damar
think
Hamlin's
it's. I was about to say it's has nothing against Damar Hamlin, but I mean I guess it kind of is. Um, I think with switching, whether people want to talk about the fronts and is it a 4-3 or is it a 5-man front? Are we gonna kind of have some 4-man fronts? I think one thing that is going to be kind of said is a one high shell where you bring Cole Bishop down near the box and play that kind of box safety robber role. With that, you need a safety with range and speed and ball skills, and I just don't think that that's Damar Hamlin
Yeah, and
at
I think
all.
one of the things that benefited Damar Hamlin so much was how long he had spent in Sean McDermott's system, and so you could always say, "Well, Damar, he knows the system, he
He
knows the
knows it.
defense, and it's a complex defense, and Damar had it down, so he could play a lot faster than he might, especially learning a new defense with Jim Leonard." So that's another one I could see going, and then one that I think is good as gone is Joey Bosa. I don't think you we're paying him, and I don't know where he's going, but it
Somebody will
started off
probably
so
give
hot.
him.
It
So
started off so hot, I thought that he was gonna be just the same way I felt about Von Miller, like, "Oh, here we go, we got our difference maker that's gonna come in and when we really need it, apply those pressure and get the quarterback down," and we just can't do it, it doesn't seem like in the playoffs.
yeah, and I, somebody will give Joey Bosa another 10, $12 million, 1 year deal at least. He'll get his money. He'll get his opportunity. I really don't think it's going to be in Buffalo. And like you said, he started out hot, and maybe it's just kind of that sour taste of having the injury in the middle of the year, and then coming back and thinking like, hey, we got him in the playoffs, and he just almost completely no showed in those two playoff games. I'm more than willing to let him walk. Um, is there anybody else, honestly, that we can think of? What's so one of the guys that I kind of mentioned, he's not on my list here, but Mitch Trubisky, backup quarterback. Is that somebody that you're willing or looking, to bring back? Is that quarterback two option?
Yeah, I think I would love to have Mitch back. I think he gets along really well with Josh, and he came in there and threw an absolute dime on 3rd down this year when we needed him to. I like Mitch Trubisky as a backup. It's what does Mitch want? Is Mitch okay with being Josh's backup and he wants to stay here and be backup quarterback, get backup quarterback money? Awesome. Or does Mitch have aspirations to be a starting quarterback in the NFL? But that's going to come down to what Mitch wants. So I would love to have him back if he would have us. If he wants more, he's probably going to go find more.
I think the question is, does he get more?
I think
He
Sam Darnold inspires so much confidence in so many quarterbacks. They're like, see, I mean, it looked so terrible in these other places. And then he goes and he wins a Super Bowl, Seattle. That could be me, Mitch could be thinking.
it could. How many teams are looking at Mitch that way though? With some of the other younger quarterbacks, that other teams could be looking. Hey, that could be our Sam Darnold. Mitch Trubisky's had, and I know Darnold did as well. So maybe this is a bad example, but Trubisky's had two opportunities to start with two different teams in Chicago, and they were easy, very quick to let him go off that rookie deal. And then he went to Pittsburgh, and man, was that Mason Rudolph he ended up losing
Yeah.
snaps to? I mean, I don't know. He could be thinking the Sam Darnold
But
thing.
it comes back down to what Mitch wants. If
Yeah.
Mitch is okay with taking backup money to be Josh Allen's backup, then I would take him back 10 out of 10 times. But
Yep.
we can't afford to pay him. That's got to be one of those price components there is we have to be able to not everybody can't get paid here. Everybody can't get the deal. We can't keep all the Matt Milanos and the Treys and Connor and David Edwards. We can't do it all. So if you got to trim the fat somewhere. If that means it's Mitch doesn't get as much money or you sign somebody else. I don't know if I'd sign Shane Buechele to be the backup, but
No.
it's got to be someone else kicking around if Mitch
So
needs to go.
I'm almost, with our cap situation, like you said, you can't sign everybody. Not everybody can get paid. What's your thought on doing what some of these other, teams with, franchise quarterbacks at this kind of, they're not at the end of the line, but they're most likely Josh Allen's probably past that midway point, of his career. Do
Whoa,
you,
whoa, whoa! Slow down! How dare you
yeah, what is
say
that?
we're more than halfway past this? What are you talking about, dude?
What is it?
Josh Allen's gonna play till I'm old and gray, and I will hear nothing else. If I have to drag him out on the stretcher myself with an IV bag, then I will. But he's
I'll, I'll,
playing.
I'll be there with you. But realistically, do you think, and I was kind of toying with this, the other day in my head, do you think that we're to a point where we could consider taking a quarterback in
No,
the sixth round, one of these developmental
no,
guys, and having a developmental
no,
quarterback
no, no,
behind him
no,
under
no.
contract, team friendly salary cap?
No, there's absolutely no way, Alex, and I can't believe you're even having this conversation. You're talking about Josh being more than halfway done his career. Let's draft his successor. Are you absolutely insane?
Whoa, no, not draft the
Well,
successor.
then why draft someone you're gonna draft someone in the hopes that you're gonna develop into a backup quarterback. Part of that backup quarterback role is being the calming presence to Josh on the sideline and helping him in the quarterback room. That's a vet job. That is, I want somebody who has tried it as being a starter in the NFL and has realized I'm not starter material, but I can still help this football team. I want tried and true as my backup quarterback.
I
I
th-
can't waste draft capital. When we hit, it seems like Brandon Bean does better in the 5th and 6th round than he does in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd round. So I can't give away a 6th round pick on a backup quarterback aspiration.
to your point that the backup role should be somebody that keeps him, calm, that calming voice for him. Isn't that why you just promoted the offensive coordinator to head coach? I mean, Josh
No,
Allen
because you
is
got
not.
more things to do than sit next to him and go through snapshots what the defense is looking at and to be whispering in his ear like, you'll get it back. He's got stuff to do as offensive coordinator and head coach. He's got stuff to do.
At this point in his career, I don't know if we should be if it should be celebrated that Josh Allen needs a calming voice. Like,
Everybody
what's
needs a calming voice. It's an emotional game, and he's an emotional player, and sometimes you just need to calm down. We've all seen him get the jitters
it
and
doesn't
just
have to
start.
be a quarterback. I mean, it could be Dion, it could be somebody like Dawson.
That's
You
true,
know,
but I think quarterbacks see the game in a specific way, and I think that helps, and Mitch is a very smart guy.
I think that bringing up potentially drafting a developmental quarterback, in the draft, it's not a succession plan to Josh Allen, and I think that the way I'm looking at it is, you know, you get, and I might backtrack here for a second, but you get rid of Stephon Diggs, it becomes Josh Allen's team. You get rid of a coach because the owner walks in and sees Josh Allen crying and thinks I have to make, something because my quarterback's not happy. Now, whether that's a different conversation. But all signs have been pointing to this is Josh Allen's team. He's the leader. He was in interviews, involved in the interviews because he has the pulse of the locker room. I Do you want to invest in millions of dollars in a backup quarterback when we don't have the cap space just to have a calming voice when it could be,
Well,
somewhere else?
you just said it right there though. It's his team. What do you
Yeah.
think Josh is gonna want? Do you think he's gonna wanna let Mitch walk, who he's been buddies with for years and years and years, to draft somebody new in the 6th round? I think if Josh, and I don't think that he is, I think that you overstate a bit how much, at least I hope you do, because I don't think any one player should have that much influence over the dynamics of the roster because Josh Allen's job is to play quarterback. He's not playing GM and he shouldn't be making decisions on roster moves. But I think if he did have his say, he'd rather have Mitch back.
I think that when I say that he was involved in those and this is his team, that the overstatement, I don't think it was necessarily my opinion. I'm saying the decision makers, the people in charge have almost been directing us as this is his team. This is like whether he should have been involved in those interviews and have say in personnel. I disagree with that, but that's just kind of like what the people in the position to make the decisions are kind of telling us. I could see them, maybe taking a flight, if we, kind of move back in the draft, if it works out, you get an extra 6, taking a flyer on somebody. Um,
I think this roster has so many needs, and with a new coaching staff, I think those resources are better allocated for a position that's actually going to play, that you want to play. Whether it's down in the 6th round, it might be just a special teamer, but I need somebody in the 6th round who's going to play, not one that I am hoping never sees the field at this point in our roster rebirth.
yeah, and I think that that's kind of the do you allocate that towards the cap or do you allocate it towards the draft capital and try to get those players in the 5th, 6th, or 7th, or do you try to, kind of trim the fat on the salary cap and not pay Mitch Trubisky 4 or 5, potentially more? And I
You think
think that
he's
a
getting
big
5? What's he getting? What did he get paid last year?
um
I don't think it was 5.
it was up there.
No way.
Let me look it up real quick for you. Yeah, he was so he had signed a 2-year $5.25 million contract. So that works out to a little over what, 2 a year.
I'm fine with getting him 2 year.
Yeah. I and and part of my thing is if that is the contract you get him back, if you can get him back on another 2-year, $5 million, $6 million deal. That is 100% the option. I'm just throwing out all different, potential scenarios that we have, and I think that part of it is needing so many players while also being kind of strapped against the cap. And you know, a lot's been made about the cap situation. It's not great. I don't think it's as bad as it kind of gets made out to be sometimes. I think that there's a lot of moves that we can make to get the money that we're going to need.
There are, but all those moves, and I understand about all those moves, but all those moves just kick the can. And I feel like you never really rip the Band-Aid off when you're always kicking the can. And when you make deals like Von Miller and you pay Curtis Samuel and you pay Josh Palmer, I mean, you got to pay the piper at some point here.
I think that and I know you listen to Joe Marino like I do, he talks about those restructures. And one of the first things to look at is this guy in our long-term plans? And it's easy to say if you sign somebody to a 3-4 year deal, like, yeah, they're in your long-term plans. But can you see a scenario where some of these guys are not on the team in 3-4 years? Those are the guys that are safe to restructure. They already did it with Spencer Brown. Um, I can see it with Dawkins. I think Josh Allen, like Joe Marino's covered, is kind of a shoo-in at this point, just kind of waiting for that to drop it with a restructure. I don't think that, yes, it's kicking the can down the road a little bit, but I don't think that it's that risky in terms of.
No, I don't think it's that risky either. And I also think that the salary cap just continues to go up and up and up. So it's actually probably a smart thing to do, kick the can, because the road gets wider as you go further down the line. So
Yeah, and not overdoing it, I think, is the big thing. But if you can limit it to, like we already had Spencer Brown. If you do Josh Allen, you know, potentially Dion, Ed, I don't know how you're going to feel about this, but I would be approaching Dawson Knox for a pay cut and an extension, and that's in some ways kicking the can down the road. I think that cap hit
he's
is
got to have a pay cut. He can't get paid what he's going to get paid. It's at
the
like 18 or something, isn't it? 18, 19.
17-6, I think,
Oh,
something
man,
like
man.
that. Um, to me, the problem with Dawson Knox is not the player, it's not the role, it's that cap hit. And I think that he's somebody that would take a pay cut, extend them out, spread that money out. I don't think that those moves are should be off the table in getting that money that we talk about. Um, I don't know. I guess I kind of talked myself in circles there because at the end of the day, my main option would be to get Trubisky back on one of those deals. Um, I could see a scenario where, hey, we got this guy, trade back. The drafts the draft boards kind of falling that way where maybe they take a flyer in those late rounds on a developmental quarterback and let Mitch walk and try to save that money.
Nope, I'm out.
Well,
I'm out. Get Mitch back or get a veteran.
I mean, I saw some teams trying to contact Chicago about Tyson Bagent. I just think that that's going to be too big of a contract for us. So,
Mitch
I
or
guess
bust.
Mitch or bust. And like you said, it's all for a guy that you hope and pray you never have to see on the field.
Right, poor guy.
So,
We're like, oh, darn it, Mitch is coming out.
yeah, love Mitch. I feel like I trashed Mitch there for a little bit.
I don't know why
Mitch,
you're hating on Mitch. You're also
I
saying Josh Allen's past the halfway point in his career. You're saying all sorts of blasphemous things right now. But
what's he going into
no,
year
no, stop,
9?
stop, 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 stop. It's not even close to halfway, man.
I hope you're right.
Well, he's a beast.
So I guess kind of ending it with some key points here. There's for as much turnover and roster spots that we're going to have new faces. I don't think that there's going to be as many on the offensive side as on the defensive side. Depending on what have happen in free agency with McGovern and Edwards, I would just look for that O-line depth that I know you've referenced that we've kind of built the last couple of years. Alec Anderson, Cedric Van Pran Granger, Grable. I think that you might have to rely on those guys and then fill the depth on the backside. The defense, I don't think is much of a rebuild with the key players, but I think that there's just going to be a lot of new faces on that defense.
A lot of new faces. It's going to be quite the change.
Yes, yes. It will be interesting for sure. And this is just our free agents. I know we kind of got into some of the new guys, in potential new guys in outside free agency, kind of referenced the draft a little bit. Like I said, combine's wrapping up this weekend. I think we'll get it, a little bit more information with who they could be looking at once you see the results and kind of let that process wrap up. And obviously, once free agency starts, we'll be able to talk a little bit more.
Yeah.
That'll do it for this episode of Bud Talks Bills. I want to thank everybody for listening. I always love talking Bills. If you guys want to reach out, my Twitter is at Bud Talks Bills. Look forward to getting back together with you guys after the combine at the start of free agency. And with that, I will leave it with Go Bills.
Go Bills.